So, Cube,
Yeah.
there's been a new season of Magia Record. It's a whole self-contained season.
Look, this was a while ago. I don't think we can pretend it just came out.
I'm not pretending it just came out, but there was a final season. You know, like a whole season with its own self-contained story.
Oh, that's good because there was a lot of stuff that was left undone by the previous season that we really need to get into. So it's a good thing there's a whole other season now that we can really sink our teeth into this material.
I'm fine.
I'm Cube. Hey, it's a lie. Everything's a lie. So obviously, like I guessed at the end of last season, this season's 4 episodes, and you know that it was just supposed to be part of the same season because they have the same opening and ending still. It's just the same season. They just give it a subtitle that says final season.
Also, it adds up to 12 episodes, which is the standard length for a season.
It's so blatant.
Also, this is Anime Slushy.
This is Anime Slushy. We're talking about the finale of Magia Record. We finally watched it. We won.
It took us a while to get to this, but it turns out we really weren't missing anything.
I'm so empty inside.
I had sort of forgotten the kind of uncanniness of the show in general compared to the game, in that it is just a sort of weirdly speedrunned version of the game story with some odd and seemingly unnecessary changes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this really ramped it up.
It did. I wouldn't say this went quite as fast as some sections of the other parts of season 2 did.
That's true. Season 2 is already pretty bad.
Yeah, literally stacking Uwasa Saruno and Holy Mummy on top of each other is a pretty impressive bit of speedrunning.
I think it's also partly just this is the end, so it can't be well, maybe we'll have a bit more time to unpack this later.
Yeah.
No, that's not happening. They will never be unpacked.
They do burn an entire episode on a anime original character, which goes absolutely nowhere.
Oh my god, we finally find out why Kuroe is in the show. Everyone's favorite character, Kuroe. It's finally time to find out what her story is and why the fuck she's here.
I guess just for the sake of clarity, I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you probably listened to when we discussed Magia Record Season 2 a while back.
Oh, this is going to be real confusing if not.
Yeah, you're very... I mean, look, it's going to be confusing either way, I think. But it might be worth just quickly recounting where we'd got up to in the story.
Oh man, you better be ready to do that. 'Cause I ain't.
I'm not going to try and go too far. But basically, the girls... They'd done this thing where they'd stacked 3 things from the game on top of each other, which were the beginning of the Magias kicking off their major plan with Eve, and having to unbrainwash Holy Mummy, and having to pull the Yuasa out of Saruno. So they did all 3 of those things at once. They pulled the Yuasa out of Saruno, even though it seemed like they killed her once. I don't remember that.
It was pretty good. Pretty good creepypasta.
Yeah. That awesome shot of her lying dead on the ground.
That was the funniest moment in the show.
Yeah. They got Holy Mummy back, and the Mitakihara girls just kind of went home. There was, rather than just them having to sort of get to the Hotel of Faint Hope, which was the Magius base, this time it was just Irua runs into a church where Toka and Nemu were hanging out.
Yeah, and we suddenly realized that Nemu remembers everything, which wasn't the case in the game.
No, yeah, that was the twist at the end of this season, is that, yeah, this is a reality where Nemu never forgot about Ui or Irua or anyone.
Ui.
And this whole time has known what their original plan was. Not everything that's going to happen, but just what they were trying to do at first, which is... Well, actually, let's get into the first episode, because the entire first episode is a flashback.
Yeah. We were talking about what happened with Nemu in the first episode.
Yeah. So the first episode of Season 3, let's forget that. It's episode 9 of Season 2.
No! Oh god, this is going to get confusing. The first finale season episode.
Yeah, the first finale season episode is a flashback to how the 3 girls in the hospital, Ui, Toka, and Nemu, became magical girls. And this was actually this was something I didn't mind seeing fleshed out a little bit, I guess.
I mean, you do need to establish this stuff for anything to make sense.
You do, yeah.
As much as it ends up making sense, which it doesn't, but, to an extent.
Yeah, but from memory, the game didn't, it didn't breeze over it, but it didn't really spend a lot of time dwelling on what happened there. Aside from just detailing what their initial plan was and where it went wrong. Because to rush through the story a little bit, the basic idea is that Ui's got these 2 friends who are all staying in the terminally ill anime child ward.
I hate it. I hate that they just, none of them actually have any disease. I know that it's, a thing that's always been a problem, but I'm just, so sick of that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
fucking choose a disease that they have.
Yeah, because
Because as is, it's like they're just constantly completely normal girls, except that Nemu's in a wheelchair. So what the fuck is her thing? But they can't leave the hospital room except when they do later. It's not like they're getting constant tests or anything like an IV fluid. Why can't they live at home?
Yeah, no, it's like the cliche of the young, terminally ill anime child is just so entrenched that we don't even need to bother, detailing the disease anymore. It's almost like isekai shorthand, where it's like, we're not going to bother talking about how this person got here or what the mechanics of it all. You know how this works.
Yeah.
They're just a sick anime child.
But it still sucks.
Yeah, it still sucks. The very first thing we should see is kind of funny is that Alina.
Okay, yeah, I was really hoping we weren't going to skip completely past the first shots.
No, I just want to mention.
Welcome back.
I just want to mention real quick that Alina is also in the hospital, and the first thing you see is her putting up like really horrific looking art in the children's hospital, which I thought was funny.
But like it's like Inukuri witch dimension art.
Yeah,
so it's like, is she actually like, is this a literal thing she's doing or not? What the fuck are you showing me, show? And it's especially because like the first thing you see is these like 2D collage deer heads like coming into frame, being rotated into frame. It's like, oh, we're back, baby. Nothing makes sense. Hello.
I mean, I think it's just the show being a bit winky. But like it is also, I just like the idea of putting that in a children's hospital. That's a horrible thing for a child to see. They don't want to go to that hospital.
There's no way. It's not literal. But what actually was happening there, who knows?
I think it's like, you know what this show's like with its limited spaces. Everything is literal, even though it makes no fucking sense. It's all like, yeah, it's all Shaft going way over the top Shaft.
Sob.
The girls live in their room together. They're all friends, but they know that they don't get to go outside. Their only connection to the outside world is Iroha, who they all call sister, even though she's just Ui's sister.
Look, jeez. It's valid.
That's fair enough. Yeah. That's fine. It's whatever.
Especially if, like, your entire family had abandoned you at a hospital and she's the only fucking person that visits you. I can see you thinking of her as your big sister.
Yeah, the other girls just have no family. In this episode, we actually do get to see Iroha and Ui's parents for the first time ever.
Mistake on IMO.
Yeah, it is.
Like, if you remind us that they can show up and feel bad about Ui being sick, why do they never visit? What the fuck?
You could sort of argue, like, I remember them mentioning somewhere in the game, while Ui is still sort of unexistenced, that they are the traditional anime work overseas parents who just send money home to Iroha. And she lives on her own. Yeah,
I guess they did do that so that she could go in and live in the Yachio house at the beginning.
Yeah. And also, like, in that stage, Ui doesn't exist, so there's no reason for them to be sad to be back. Whereas in this stage, maybe they are home more because their child is dying. But, it's not like it ever gets really sort of outlined.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, there's a whole thing about, Ira was saying that, Ui and her will always be together and da-da-da. And one day, Ira was walking home and she runs into Kyubey. Wants to know if she has a wish. She keeps rejecting Kyubey, and Kyubey keeps bugging her. And she thinks she'll be okay, but then Ui's getting sicker and sicker, and then one day Ui's in the hospital bed and she can't eat.
She has an anime disease attack.
Yeah, she has an anime disease attack, and she can't eat Ira's lovely bento anymore. And then it seems very clear that Ui is going to die soon. So we get the little thing we've seen in the game, which is Ira running up to some part of the hospital where there's like a balcony where they're airing out sheets.
Yeah, dramatically airing out sheets.
Yeah, and she makes her wish to Kyubey, which is...
Save Ui.
Yeah, save Ui. This is the part of the expanding out of this story that I kind of liked. It's the girls noticing that something's up with Iroha.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting at first.
Oh, wait, before that happens, real quick. So they're doing the Uwasa thing, like when they were just normal girls, where they're like making up rumors to spread around.
That's right, yeah.
And I was like, I don't know exactly. I guess they were just planning on like spreading them over Twitter. But I don't know. It was kind of funny that they were like, and these will all spread and be really good rumors. And I'm like, damn, you're overestimating yourselves, little childrens.
But there's also this really sad aspect to it, which is them saying, even if we die, this will be a way we get to have some impact on the world and be remembered.
Yeah.
Because we created these rumors and they'll go on forever. And they say this to Iroha, and Iroha's just like, damn.
But then Iroha's like, hey, I'll make a rumor that super won't spread because it's just a cheesy thing that's personal for us.
Yeah.
Which is that there will be the eternal Sakura, and when four friends meet again under it, it'll bloom. And that is not going to come back up this season. It happens later in the game, but it's very funny that she outlined it and why it was important to them, and then that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, I forgot that.
Yeah, it just never comes back.
It ends up being really important in the game. Like, it's part of how the the story resolved.
Yeah, so it's like, why did you outline that Iroha came up with this one for this very important reason if you weren't going to circle back around to it?
It's almost worse as well because this time, like, the way the scene plays out, it's very clear why Iroha made up that rumor. Like, it wasn't that she thought it was going to be a cool rumor. It's that she was just trying to make the girls have a little hope that maybe they won't die.
Yeah.
Because the girls were all just sitting around going, this is how we'll be remembered after we all die, because we're going to die.
And yeah, see, they did show the Eternal Sakura last season, so it's like we know it's around and exists, but they didn't end up having time to use it for the thing that they told us it's very important and dramatically, key for. So, oops.
Well, all it really was the place where Yashio and Kuroe went into Iroha's doppeldrama.
Yeah.
That's the only place it featured, which is completely irrelevant to what to its thing here.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. So anyway, the girls start noticing that Iroha's not visiting as much and she always seems tired. And then she finally does get to visit. She gets a little glowy thing on the ring and she has to run off. But she's running off to somewhere in the hospital, so they follow her down and she's in the morgue. Which is a funny detail. I don't know why she's in the morgue, but there's a witch labyrinth down there. And the girls get sucked in. Kuroe talks to them and says, hey, you can save Iroha.
Yeah, and they're like conveniently watching Iroha fight from a place where she can't see them somehow, and they look janky as fuck. They had to delay it. They did not have more time to make the animation look better and stuff. Everything was like shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, nothing looks as bad as it did in like eps 6, 7, and 8 of the last season.
Some of it does.
Some of it looks poor, but the way that the stuff in that section was like unfinished, where like textures would fall off and stuff. Like nothing ever looks quite that bad, because that was like an unbelievable level of like just not finished,
I suppose.
But before they have to wish, Iroha beats this witch, and so it gives the girls a chance to think about what Kuroe is asking them. Mm-hmm. They do a little bit of detectiving because they don't trust Kuroe. And this is something you were talking about that kind of bugged you.
Yeah, because they figure out through going to a library and doing their facts and logic that magical girls become witches because they look into disappearances of girls and when and where it happened and how people start being found dead or whatnot around the same time. So they solve the problem. Every other girl can't figure that the fuck out, but we're different. and it just feels so like once you really show that girls can get that opportunity to just like really tease it out and then ask Kuroe those things, it's like, okay, so now every other girl seems way stupider for not doing that. Like,
it's one of those things where in terms of like the logic of trying to work out what's going on, I don't mind the little chain of logic they set up, like realizing that where there are these areas where there's a lot of like unexplained or funny deaths, it's often like a teenage girl who dies first in that area. And that's how you sort of can figure out that maybe it was a witch and maybe the girls become witches.
As someone brings up though, like it's also rough because like Toka's 8. And so it's like she's just a super genius, not person.
Yeah. But this is what I was getting to is like this explanation isn't bad, but this does feel like it's dunking on other girls because in general there's a running thing in this show of just having a bit of contempt for normal girls. Like
it makes being a magical girl so miserable.
Yeah.
Even like way more so than it ever was in Madoka because like they got to go out in rad ways and stuff.
Yeah, whereas in this it's like this thing just, particularly in this last little chunk, but it was happening before, it just keeps going on and on and on about how most girls are weak. Most of these girls are super weak and they fall to despair quickly and they can't help themselves and they're completely hopeless. And it's just it just keeps hammering it in this way that is so unpleasant.
Yeah. And so not like what the situation was in Madoka.
No.
Like mommy wanted some help, but it wasn't like every fight was like, oh, no, I just can't do it. It's just too hard. I'm just too weak.
Yeah. Like the girls had weaknesses. But they weren't like just weak. Like they weren't just sort of immediately like, oh, this is fucked and this is shit. I hate this. And then they die. It's sort of...
Yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah.
I guess that's Inukuri doing it for you. They love the edgy.
Yeah, and the intention is for it to just be kind of edgy. But like it does just come off like the show is just kind of misogynistic. Like it just really doesn't think much of these girls at all.
Except for Toka, who's so big brain.
Yeah, except for these super genius babies.
Oh, but also the morgue was very important because the way that they think morgues work is you have a bunch of like cartoon mummies on tables in a giant rows, and that's the morgue, the hospital morgue.
Yeah.
It looked very funny.
Just a big grid of bodies on stretchers all over the floor.
Yeah, and Kube's just like standing on a cartoon mummy like sup.
I will mention as well that the part where they're interrogating Kuroe, like, because they want to ask him some questions.
The chairs.
It's time for some
the chairs.
It's time for some wacky shaft chairs because The girls are just hanging out on 10-foot chairs. Like, they are just 10-foot on stilts chairs, arrayed in front of a bunch of canvases, which I guess is where Alina was like fucking around with art or something. But like, what are these 10-foot chairs? How did they get on these 10-foot chairs? Shaft, come on.
I was wondering, it's like,
Shaft.
I could believe either way, like they decided to make them immediately be ridiculous chairs, or someone was like, oh fuck, the way that we drew this background, it's a problem with the way the characters are placed. What do we do? Big long chair. Just make the legs go way, way down.
Yeah. God, they're fucking goofy. This whole show has been like this with Shaft just indulging themselves a little too much.
Yeah. But yeah, so Kuroe will answer their questions, but some of them he does answer in a very duplicitous way. Because like when they ask what happens if your soul gem becomes tainted, he says you won't be able to use magic properly.
Because he says the thing about I won't lie, but obviously he's still just not telling the whole truth. Usual thing. It is one of those things where this is like this show was never as good at making Kuroe cleverly duplicitous, I feel like. Like in this, he's just more of a straight up liar. Like,
Kinda.
I don't know. It's not done with as much finesse as it is in the other one, which I guess partly comes from us knowing what the deal is ahead of time this time, I suppose. But still. Can we talk about, we haven't talked about it in this so far, the mechanics of the three girls' wishes and how it sets up the doppel system, or what the intention was? Because this feels... I wish I could remember the way they explained it in the game a bit better, because the way it's done here, it feels very hand wavy at certain points about how it's supposed to work.
I think it was always hand wavy, but I swear it ends up feeling like you can buy it as making sense more in the game. Whereas here, it like the way that they lay it out is just, wait, that doesn't make any fucking sense. What are you literally saying? What?
Yeah, the three of them pick particular powers. Ui requests the power of collection.
They frame this as they are taking on different parts of Kuroe's powers, by the way. So it's like the collection is the collection of impurities from girls' grief seeds.
Yeah. Transformation is turning that power into something else, which in Kuroe's case is turning it into energy that can be used to halt entropy. And Nemu's power is manifestation, which is turning that energy into something that magic... No, wait, sorry, no.
See, we're already running into the issue.
No, sorry. Yeah, I got these two the wrong way around. Yui is the collection of energy. Toka is the one who can transform the energy into something that magical girls can use, and then Nemu is the one who can make the energy manifest into something else. I can get spread around.
Yeah. Yeah, see, the way they describe it sucks, because it's like, okay, so Ui gets the energy, Toka transforms the energy, and then Nemu transforms the energy.
Yeah, that's Nemu's one is the one where it trips up in the way they explain this, because Toka says she's turning the impurities into something magical girls can use, which I'm like, okay, I guess that's the energy that creates the doppel, but also makes you kind of powerful while you're the doppel.
But yeah, see, that's the thing is like, but they're not siphoning the impurities off of the. Like, I don't think that system is ever in place during the show, in theory. Because you don't doppel until you become completely overrun with impurities and your soul gem's gonna break. Like, it's not like they've been siphoning off that energy in the way that they were supposed to be.
No, I think it's tricky to say, because it's like, you could argue that the doppel system only kicks in at the point when you would witch. Like, that's what we see in the show, is that we see Ui suck away a bunch... I mean, it's sort of confusing, because we see Ui suck away a bunch of energy all at once, and that can't be all these girls who are about to witch right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But what we do see when we see it happen is a girl who's about to witch, and then her soul gem just clears up. I guess what's happening in the game when it breaks is kind of the energy. You could argue... I mean, look, I'm headcanoning a bit, because the game never explains it, nor does the show, but the impurities do get pulled out of the soul gem, but they sort of have to go somewhere, so it manifests as a doppel instead, and that's how it sort of gets burnt off, in that the activity of whatever the doppel does.
I don't think so, because I think the Eve is still collecting those impurities. They do go to Eve still in the game.
Yeah, but then I guess maybe she redistributes it or something, because the thing that's actually feeding Eve is witches.
No, Uwasa. Because Uwasa are capturing people.
I thought Uwasa were the byproduct though of this whole system.
No, Nemu is purposefully making Uwasa to collect people, and that's why people have been disappearing, because they've been getting them. Do you remember they had that weird hospital where they were siphoning emotion energy off people, and then we forget about that completely? Yeah,
no, I remember that, but and that makes sense for when it's just the two of them and they're both evil for no reason. But I'm more thinking of what their initial plan is, because that's where you trip up with Nemu when he gets a Nemu. Sorry, I keep falling off track, but That's the thing, is like the idea that, Toka turns the impurities into energy that magical girls can use. And then they say Nemu's manifestation power gives it a physical form as energy. Now, aside from that doesn't make a ton of sense. What you see Nemu doing is like, just creating all these cards that are like the Yuasa things that just fly out all over the city. And what I'm wondering is like, okay, in their initial plan where it was all for good and the girls just wouldn't doppel, what are the Yuasa? What are they for? What are they doing?
No.
Were the Yuasa even there? Like, what was the card thing Nemu was doing? Like, they just didn't do a good job of explaining what the plan was supposed to do functionally, I don't think.
Okay, those cards were food stamps, and it was like an unlimited minimum basic income kind of thing. They were going to redistribute them to the girls.
Yeah. I can see how, when the whole thing busted and you've just, all you're really doing is putting this negative energy back out, and you end up with all these Uwasa running around. That's like something that Toka, because she's evil, decided to harness to get more energy by trapping people and shit. To feed witches, to feed Eve. And
yeah.
It's one of those things where I can understand how it works when the evil version's going, but I don't think they ever really completely backwrote how it made sense in the first place, you know?
Yeah. And I think it doesn't become a problem in the game just because they don't say and show these same exact things.
No.
So it's not like, wait, why are you, what?
I think it's still an issue because you do find yourself thinking about what was that plan supposed to be. I
just wish I remembered a bit better exactly how it laid it out in the game.
I think in the game they just kind of never really tried to show or explain it because the whole scene plays out in live 2D VN mode, so we just see them talking and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, you can cut between things.
The same thing goes wrong, is that Ui ends up absorbing too many impurities at once, and she's sort of doppling witching something.
Wait, before any of this happens, we can't skip past feats. Because Alina, we cut to Alina and she's kicking a vending machine with her bare feet.
And that's right.
Her bare feet are in foreground. And she's like, no, impossible. And then she finds Cube and traps him in a cube. And is like, Cube, is that shit real? Because she's been apparently listening in on all of these conversations they've been having.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, whatever. And she's like, what? No. and so when they are doing their whole plan, she can suddenly show up because she's been spying on him to know all the stuff.
Yeah, this part actually makes more sense than it did in the game. They actually bothered to get for there to be a reason why Alina was somewhere near them and had some idea of what was happening.
Yeah, that's what was the problem was, because I remember there being an issue with timing or something. It was because I believe in the game there's a scene where they approach her and they're already magical girls to join their revolution or whatever.
Yeah,
which makes no sense when she was here for this event.
Yeah, but I think they just from memory. I think I'm starting to remember. I think they just kind of showed two versions and maybe forgot they did that.
Yeah.
The other version of it is the one where what's happening here happens, which is Ui is overwhelmed by all the negative energy.
I do like how she becomes a lanky moth thing in this version. It looks silly.
Well, she has very long legs, so she'd be able to sit properly on those chairs now.
Oh, it's actually really good and beautiful.
Alina runs up and it stabilizes Ui in a cube. So then Toka tries to get the impurities out, but it kind of half breaks a soul gem, and then Toka passes out, and then Nemu's like, this thing's falling apart, I need to put it in a vessel.
Yeah, they rip her soul out of the witch thing she's becoming.
Yeah, and they're just sort of holding this soul gem that's falling to bits, and there's the empty cube, because they nicked Cube's powers, there's the empty cube, which will soon become baby cube, that Nemu shoves Ui into.
Yeah.
And that's when Alina comes up and is like, hey, what are you guys up to? In the game, it was the thing, this is what happened. Alina just happens to wander up and says, hey, what are you two up to? And they're like, join us. And she's like, cool. Whereas in this one, Alina's a bit more aware of what they're doing. At which point, Toka wakes up and she's nuts.
Kinda, because she doesn't remember Ui. She just remembers that they're doing this plan thing, and she looks at the big witch shell that was left behind of Ui, which becomes a very wait, so is the witch still fulfilling her wish? Is the witch her? But it's not, because Ui is in the thing, so why can the witch still do anything that's Ui specific?
That's always been a weird part of the story, is that whatever the fuck they were doing separated Ui's soul from this sort of half embryo witch that didn't quite form, which is Eve. And how is that it doesn't, what those things were and where they came from and what the mechanics are here. Say what you will about Madoka occasionally running a bit loose with magic. In Magia Record, shit's just whatever. things just happen and it's cool.
But the problem is that they still they spend time explaining what's happening, but the thing that they're saying makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, it really fucking doesn't.
Yeah.
Nemu was never unconscious, so Nemu remembers everything that's just happened, whereas Toka doesn't.
Well, and also because Nemu's the one who shoved Ui into the little cube.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a transformation sequence when they first become magical girls, and it sucks.
Yeah. Look at them knock knees. Look at them uwu knock knees.
It is funny though, because first you see Nemu transform and then a big book just comes and slams closed on her, and then you're watching Toka transform. She's like, get the fuck out of my way. I'm Toka.
Nemu goes on to explain why she does this later, but at first she mentions Ui, and Toka's like, oh, who's Ui? What are you so sad about? Look, our plan worked, blah, blah, blah. Toka is sort of immediately a bit more unhinged, and it does kind of feel like Nemu just doesn't bother explaining what's actually happened and just writes Toka off as crazy.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Because she is immediately Toka is straight into the Toka we know from the show, which is the one making weird speeches and posing strange and talking about how they're going to save everyone, but also being kind of homicidal because the first thing she tries to do is stab baby Kuroe.
Yeah, I guess Nemu's just she always was kind of on the edge.
Which is funny because they later in the next episode, they try to claim that Toka only went nuts later.
No, don't. Yeah.
It's like, no, she has always been crazy. The second this happened, she was nuts.
I think Nemu's mostly just supposed to be so taken aback that Toka doesn't remember Ui, but they animate Toka so fucking unhinged. Even when she's being somewhat logical and reasonable, they make her constantly do the neck crick, I'm a crazy person animation kind of stuff. It's so annoying.
And it's also Nemu could be taken aback in the moment that Toka doesn't remember anything and they failed and everything. But then there's several months after this time in which Nemu could have said something and decided not to.
Well, I think she gives a decent excuse why she doesn't for that one.
Kinda, yeah. I think her excuse for why she doesn't is also a bit unhinged.
Well, yeah, they're both crazy. They were always crazy. This was always an issue.
Yeah. It is kind of funny that when you first see them, we're gonna figure out stuff about magical girls and witches, and they're just pulling books out of a giant library. It's what library has information about this stuff?
Also, so you are able to leave your hospital room to go to this giant hell library. I guess you can go there, but not anywhere else.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I think that Ui's voice actress is doing a really weird on-the-nose Madoka impression this episode, more so than usual. There's just something about her voice acting that feels very I am pretending to be Madoka. She's doing an Aoi Yuki impersonation. She should be copyright infringed.
There is something that crops up in these last 4 episodes that I feel only sort of crops up accidentally and they don't really get into it enough. There is something sort of sad about this timeline in that it's a timeline where Iroha sacrifices herself for the sake of Ui and the other 2 girls. And then those girls sacrifice themselves for the sake of Iroha. And it just does not work out for any of them.
It's a very gift of the Magus situation.
Yeah. What?
Gift of the Magius. Now it's the gift of the Magius, you see.
I'm probably going to start calling the gift of the Magius that accidentally now. So thanks for that. The thing about this timeline, the timeline that Magia Record plays out in, because this was the thing in the game, is that towards the end we got to see Godoka up in, Godoka space.
Oh.
There was this whole idea that there were all these records that she's looking at, which are all these different records of different magical girls that she keeps an eye on. And that the universe where Magia Record was occurring was this intensely fragile, very unstable reality, and Madoka couldn't interfere with it, or she might break it. So she would just sort of watch it.
Oh, I didn't remember the idea being that she couldn't touch it. I thought she just decided not to.
No, she mentioned the thing about it being intensely fragile, and if she manifested in it in the way she does in all the other ones, it would break and cease to exist.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, because she does eventually, she does the feather thing in the big fight at the end.
Yeah, and also just in infinite universes, there'd be a ton of whatever would make it extra fragile or what. What the fuck are you even talking about? What are you talking about?
The thing about this one being fragile and unique was this is the only universe in which Iroha becomes a magical girl. The reason given was that just in this one, she happened to get a rock in her shoe, and that delayed her long enough that Kuroe caught up with her.
Yeah.
That's that idea, is that in every other universe, a sad, but not quite as sad as this story plays out, in which Ui and the other girls just succumb to their illness and Iroha goes on being an only child who's kind of sad. But the thing is that, like a lot of manga stuff, the universe where people do get to be magical girls is infinitely sadder. Like things just turn out so much worse.
I mean, in the game, they kind of end up turning out better thanks to handwave bullshit because you got to keep all the girls in your party in your collection.
Yes, that's true.
But not in the anime. We can do what we want in the anime. We can get edgy as fuck. Oh wait, also I want to say Alina. I still kind of enjoy her as the only person who's having a good time and actually seems to have like she tells you what she wants and it makes sense in a way. But her voice acting has like been turned up to 11 this season, and every time she says an English word, like she takes like 2 seconds saying it, and it's so over the top, and it was pissing me the fuck off. I couldn't stand listening to her. She'd just be like, "Oh, this is your like blah blah, blah mission, blah blah blah, revolution."
Yeah,
and it, like she just like it's too heavy. It's like, calm the fuck down, Alina Gray.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't as much of her in this, and she wasn't. The thing I appreciated about her in season 2 was that she was just like, she kind of just didn't give a fuck, and that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
She was just really uninterested in the story, whereas now she's back to being crazy and wanting to kill people and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, she has to go full camp, crazy bad guy, villain, whatever.
Yeah.
So, episode 2, or 10.
Sorry, yeah. Episode 2 of season 3, we're back to where we were up to, which is Iroha and Toka and Nemu in this church. Do you remember how she made them remember Ui?
No. It's only Toka that needs to remember Ui. And after time stops, the time stop that happened so that Nemu could have her flashback to show to us the audience, Toka remembers Ui now. She just remembers her.
Yeah.
Who, fuck you.
And she remembers, Iroha and calls her sister Iroha again, and she's running up and, hugging her and stuff.
Yeah, she suddenly got all her memories back, and they didn't bother to make it clear why.
Well, yeah. At first, she's like just really happy to see her. Then she goes, oh, I tried to kill you a bunch. And then she's suddenly horrified by the fact that she tried to murder Iroha because she likes Iroha.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny. They play it off as like a really horrible moment for her, but it's also like, well, I mean, yeah, you sure were homicidal.
Yep.
Like that was definitely a thing you were.
And Nemu has to explain that Toka, part of the reason that she's so crazy killer is because for some reason when they brought all these girls in who were so weak and shitty, Toka was getting all of their thoughts on some kind of brain Twitter, and it drove her insane to see all their negative thoughts.
Yeah, see, that's when she became crazy. She wasn't crazy at first, but she became crazy because she became the vessel for magical girls' despair and rage or something.
Why? Who knows? Fuck you. That she sees it on brain Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's how they show it. That's how they visualize it, is that they're like tweets that she's reading.
Yeah. I have in my notes the phrase "I hate this," which pops up quite a few times in these notes. But it's again that thing of like, oh, the majority of the girls, they're so weak. They're so fucking weak. They just whinge and carry on, and they're so weak. And I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah.
Fucking shut up.
Especially like the whole idea is that you were having to like make this revolution so you could save these girls because this is just like too hard of a thing for them to have to do.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, we didn't realize all these girls fucking suck so much.
Because it's that aspect of it as on the one hand, but the other hand is like Toku going on about how like it became my mission that I was going to save all these girls who couldn't save themselves, and it's that thing of your central characters are just so fucking cool, and there's all the other plebs, they suck.
That plays into this dialogue that I had to write down because what the fuck? Because Iroha's like, it's okay if we're all weak, because even if we're all weak, we can all just hold hands. And then Nemu says, Iroha, only those on the stage can hold hands. Those who would not go on the stage stood in their rage, far from our reach. And what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, only main characters get to be friends, I guess is the idea. Like,
what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, it's
like those girls came here because you called them here. That worked. And then what did you want from them? God damn it.
Yeah, it bugs me because like this whole thing is like the solution to all of this despair is that, hey, if we're all friends and we're all together, we can get through this. But it really does suggest that, only the main characters get to be friends or even ever thought of the concept of friends. All these other fucking wings of the Magius girls, they don't have friends. They can't have friends. They don't know what that is.
Well, they're too weak to have friends. They're not on the stage, you see. They have to be on the stage.
The other thing we get in this little bit... Oh, sorry, one other line I wanted to mention was like Toka's feeling bad about how she tried to kill Iroha and did a lot of bad shit. Iroha says, look, you don't have to worry. It isn't the past that matters, only the future. I'm like, no, stop. No, I'm sorry. We do have to talk about all the murders.
I don't remember that line.
Yeah.
Because also, like, they had a whole thing in the first episode of this finale where they were talking about Nemu caring about the past and her memories. And, I mean, Ui felt that way.
That's right, yeah.
And
Ui,
it's still
yeah.
a thing later, is like, all, the past and the memories are precious. So, like, what? Fucking whatever.
Toka turns to Nemu and says, hey, Nemu, I got a question. And then Toka, crazy face, why didn't you tell me the truth? Why were you keeping this from me? And Nemu's explanation is interesting. Nemu decided that the only way forward was to keep going with the flawed doppel plan that was hurting people. But, like, she was too sad to make that work. Whereas Toka, you know, upon waking up and having forgotten Ui and everything, was like really enthused about the plan. So it was best to let Toka just continue on without knowing, because if she knew the truth about Ui and that they'd lost their friend and that none of this was really what Ui or Iroha would have wanted them to do, Toka would stop and then the plan couldn't go ahead.
Yes, that part is correct.
Yeah, but there was a part in there about Nemu saying that she was a bit too bummed out to be able to carry out the plan herself.
I don't remember that.
And if they were both bummed out, that neither of them could do it and the whole thing would fall in a heap. So it was better to let Toka run around being crazy and hurting all these people and getting everyone killed, even though she knew that Ui wouldn't want this.
See, look at what Cowgirl's saying because of you misrepresenting this. She just was worried that Toka wouldn't go along with it anymore if she told her the truth, and so she didn't tell her the truth. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's simple.
She decided that she really still wanted to get this done, and she knew that Toka might not want to get it done if she told her the truth, so she didn't.
Yeah, but like my thing is that at the same time she knew that all the stuff they were doing and people getting hurt wasn't what, like she says, I knew this wasn't what Ui would want, but
yeah.
I felt like I needed to keep going anyway. And it's like, so you were okay with everything that Toka was doing. Like,
yeah,
you signed off on that and let her keep doing it and being crazy and hurting people. Like,
yeah,
that's what it boils down to.
Well, here's the problem. In a sense, she's not wrong. They just keep portraying it as crazy as possible, because the whole idea is that you're going to save like infinite girls in the future. So it's not like the most insane, unreasonable thing for her to be like, okay, I still think that's what we need to do. And it's going to hurt a lot of people and stuff, but it's still like objectively better than not doing it. Not that I agree with her, mind you. I would not kill millions.
No, but there's but there's that issue that Iroha brings up in this scene, which is like the dumb thing the anime introduced, which is permadoppling, which makes the doppel system not work. Like,
it's also an issue.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that like Nemu was continuing on with this plan that doesn't work. Like that's the problem.
Yeah, she's like, isn't that just becoming witches again? And it's like, yeah, it sure is the same fucking thing, Iroha. Good goddamn point.
Yeah, there's a very confusing scene here because, okay, so in the game, once the girls remember Ui, they stop being crazy and they come around to trying to stop what is happening from happening. Like once Ui is sort of properly, fully brought back. Now, to be fair to the anime, I suppose, that never made a ton of sense because, like, why does the absence of Ui existing mean that, you know, Toka and Nemu are psychotic?
Well, they're still psychotic afterwards, because remember they were like, we don't really regret it that much or whatever.
Yeah, but there's in the game there's a thing where they say that afterwards, I have no regrets, but then the very next mission was them attempting to sort of kill themselves via trial.
Oh, that's true.
So I think they sort of...
They did do that stupid bullshit.
Yeah, I think maybe it felt almost like they saw that line and people reacting to it and went, ooh, hang on. Hard reverse.
Yeah.
My point was that, like, it never quite made sense as to why Ui not existing meant their girls were suddenly, like, homicidal.
Yeah.
Whereas in the points to the anime, the girls don't stop being homicidal just because they know Ui existed now.
Yeah, because Toka was really mad asking Nemu, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, okay, that makes sense. You were worried that I wouldn't do it. But you know what? I will do it. And I'm going to stand over you so that we can like stack and be tall, and I'll twirl my umbrella dramatically for a very dramatic visual while we keep talking. And it's so stupid. And they're like, we're just going to do it anyway because we need to save magical girls.
Yeah, and it's this thing of, we know that Ui and Iroha wouldn't want us to sacrifice others, but those two are too self-sacrificial. They try to take too much on. So we're going to take the responsibility off them. It won't be your fault. It'll be our fault. We're going to go kill millions. Bye.
Yeah. Okay, to be fair, they're not going to kill millions. They're going to kill thousands. So like whatever.
But like I say, this version kind of makes more sense in that they just continue being nuts.
Well, I mean, until they don't.
Well, yeah, that too, yeah.
Oh, and so is she standing on the shoulders? I'm not quite sure.
No, she's standing on a table.
Really see.
She's standing on a table behind the wheelchair.
Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly where she's standing. And then in the next shot, she's on the floor again because there's no fucking shot continuity in this season. It drove me insane. The 180 rule gets broken all the time for no reason. Characters will be in a particular position related to other characters, and in the next shot, they're just not. It sucks.
They launch Eve.
No, wait. What are they going to do with Iroha in the meantime?
Oh, yeah, they put Iroha in space. In Ui space.
Yeah.
They put Iroha inside Baby Cube to keep her safe.
And you don't see that in this episode. She says that's what they did in the next episode. In this episode, you just see her like in a pillar of light and then she gets yeeted off in teleport lands.
Yeah.
But then later she's like, they shoved me in the Baby Cube along with Ui because this Baby Cube can fit so many magical girl souls. And also bods in Iroha's case.
Slaps hood.
But also, being put in the Baby Cube doesn't erase Iroha from existence the way it erased Ui from existence, because who fucking cares?
Like I say, the magic in this show is just whatever, do whatever, it's fine.
Sucks.
So, yeah, they launch Eve. They kick it all off.
They put out a magical PA announcement about it, which I didn't notice until the second time I watched.
They need for something bad to happen in the meantime, I guess. Well, I say they need to. I guess they just decided they wanted to. A thing that happens in here that never happened in the game is that Eve cropping up and sending out Eve waves or something causes every girl to almost doppel. All the weak girls doppel. Our cool main characters, for the most part, don't doppel.
And it's a bad doppel. It's the you're just a witch now doppel.
Yeah, it's a perma-doppel. With a few exceptions. I think, who doesn't doppel?
Yachio doesn't. She doesn't even need to fucking fight it. She's just like completely like, oh, what's wrong with everybody else?
Yeah.
Momoko, the blonde girl with a big sword, I'm worried people won't remember who any of these characters are.
No, yeah, we have to describe them. Yeah, so Mifuyu, the girl who was the coward with the towels as part of her outfit and the big circles.
Yeah, grey girl.
Yeah, she doesn't doppel, but just about everyone else does.
Rena, the friend of Kaede, who was the first permadoppel we saw, who was passed out at the end of last season, is now awake and in the room with Mitama, who, if you remember last season, she ended it by like putting her hand on the big bubble with permadoppel Kaede in it, and she's like, I'm going to do something now, and she glowed. Now she's just standing there with Rena, and they're like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think they forgot.
She didn't actually do anything.
I think they forgot that was happening.
That didn't happen.
All right, so all the girls are doppling, and it's bad because they're fighting and going to attack everyone.
Oh, damn. Oh, shit.
Yeah, but, they need to go chase Eve, so...
Oh, yeah, because Eve is leaving to catch up with Walpurgis Noct, who's trying to, go back on a route of fucking up Mitakihara.
Yeah.
So they have to, like, fly Eve over there to fuse them, because it will create a black hole energy burst when two big witches fuse that'll make the Doppel system go worldwide. Just don't worry about it.
But it'll also blow up Mitakihara and kill everyone there. So
and Kamihama, they imply. I guess they're trying to catch up before Walpurgis gets to Mitakihara.
Honestly, I think they lost track of which town it was supposed to be in.
Also very possible.
It feels that way. They're trying to work out what to do, and Yachio's going to stay and help Mifuyu. But then Mifuyu's like, I can put them in bubbles, all the permadoppels, and I can help them.
Was she the one who was always bubbling them?
No, it was
bubbling them, Steven Universe?
No, we saw that was Mitama, the coordinator.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So it's just something that different girls can do, is put girls in these giant glass bubbles
Yeah.
for storage.
So now what they're saying is that, okay, so yeah, what's her name? Momoko, the blonde girl, runs up to help Mifuyu, and I had sort of forgotten that at one point they were on the same team.
Yeah, the show certainly didn't do any work to remind you.
No, or of that or anything. It's just like, because they never interacted in the show. They barely interacted in the fucking game. But in this time, it's like these two... Well, okay, so these two are about to die. They're going to die dramatically together.
Yeah.
What happens is they go to help, like, keep the doppels down, and then they explain doppels can be ripped from a girl because it's a manifestation of their negative thoughts.
Wait, I don't remember what line you're talking about. Ripped from a girl?
They talk about how a doppel can be pulled out of a girl now. And like, I feel like they forgot that what they were thinking of was the Uwasas being pulled out of Mami and what's her name? Tsuruno, yeah. I think they forgot that, it's Uwasas that can be pulled out, it can be fused with girls and then pulled out. Whereas doppels are like witches. It is just what the girl is. It's a weird sort of physical manifestation of them.
Yeah, but it's just, look, it's easier to come out of it, it turns out, than you would think.
Yeah, because at this point, like, doppels are a power the girls can use, or they're a cleansing thing, or they're a separate entity, or they're a manifestation of their own negative... Like, doppels have been so many fucking things at this point.
Yeah, whatever.
That is really giving me the shits. Because now it's a thing that they can pull out of them, and they end up in this fucking space realm we've never seen before, where Mitama's hanging out, praying over girls that are all on beds. You know what it reminded me a lot of? Did it remind you of anything?
Madoka?
No, it's like a whole bunch of beds that are on all these roads running throughout space. There's a whole bunch of little roads running throughout space. It reminded me a little bit of like a rainbow road, or possibly the bullshit teleportation.
You have a brain disease.
I have the ruby brain disease. Brain disease.
Yes, I hope one day you can reach the level of enlightenment, which I have. But it's a magical girl's soul mind realm. I think that this is perfectly within Maho regulations. They're doing some kind of magic shit with all these girls that are in a state of semi-conscious super brain crazy shit, and they go into a mental magical realm where they can connect with their soul hearts. That's not that weird.
They're connecting with all of the girls at once, and it has to manifest as this weird space realm where Mitama is to be already before Mifuyu and Momoko get there.
Well, because she went back to doing her coordinating attempt off screen.
But like coordinating everyone all at once? Why is this Mitama? It's almost implied this is like Mitama's realm, because she's wearing like a sort of roby uniform that looks the same as all the beds, the stuff that's on all the beds.
Yeah, I guess that is their idea now of what it looks like when she coordinates, because they kind of made it look like that last season.
But like coordination was usually something that was done one girl one-on-one, not like all at once this weird sort of other realm.
Well, she just never walked over to the other beds because that's rude to do.
I don't know. I thought this was very out of nowhere. I just like...
Well, sure, fucking everything's out of nowhere.
Yeah, but this was particularly weird because again, this is one of those things where this whole bit where Mifuyu and Momoko are going to go around like pulling the doppels out of girls, and that slowly cracks their gems until they're dead.
I think they're just healing their heart souls. I don't think they're actually like removing their doppel perma or whatever.
Well, that's what they said they were doing, is pulling the doppels out, and you sort of see the doppels sort of get lifted out of them.
I have to rewatch that part.
This whole introduced problem is nonsense. Suddenly we're in this realm where they're all connected and Mitama's hanging out is nonsense. This was particularly like a bit of invented nonsense that just gets two girls killed.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Mitama did a similar kind of situation in the game where she just has like healing powers, right? And so she healed so hard that she broke her soul gem, but then she was fine later because it's a stupid gacha game.
Well, no, that was Mifuyu. Mifuyu,
sorry.
Yeah.
There's too many M names in the scene. It's all the M girls doing a scene together. It's disgusting.
It was something about illusions, and she had to pull off a big enough illusion that it busted her soul gem, but then Iroha turned up, and because Iroha's Jesus, she brings her back to life. Like
oh yeah, I didn't remember exactly what Mifuyu did, but yeah, she did some kind of thing that was more like what you would expect for her powers.
Yeah,
as opposed to whatever this is.
I feel like I'm not unfair in saying that this weird little every section is connected via these fucking little roads to run along to all these beds did remind me a little bit of Ruby. I don't think that's an unfair comparison. It looks kind of similar.
I think part of the reason it didn't bother me as much is because this season becomes such a like nebulous, you can psychically link with all magical girls kind of situation.
Yeah.
That it's just another instance of that.
But at least that happens again at the end with something that Iroha does, but at least then you do see like, you know, little ropes connecting everyone and all sort of stuff, whereas this just comes out of nowhere. Like on top of a whole bunch of other shit.
Most of the balls were on that giant magical girl ball track that they have built into their base because this is a stupid fucking show.
Anyway, Mifuyu and Momoko are dead. Bye.
Yeah, they're dead now. They die holding hands, and Mitama wants to help, which is so funny because like Momoko gave her that whole fucking speech last season to get her to actually want to do something, and now they're healing the girls, and Mitama's like, "I'm going to help," and they're like, "No, you have to do nothing because you need to be there to coordinate the girls later, so you can't do the super sacrifice with us." And she's like, "What? You're gonna leave me behind?" And Momoko's like, "Sorry."
Yeah, they're so happy to die. They're super happy to die.
It's beautiful.
It's fine, it's cool. Now, the very last thing we get in this episode is we cut to somewhere. There's a train track, and there's a ghostly baby Kuroe following an extremely goopy Kuroe.
Why it's temporarily a small Cosmo Kuroe is who fucking knows.
Who cares?
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't matter.
It's the same one, though. It's the same small Kuroe.
Episode 3 opened with a scene I really appreciated.
Wait, real quick. I wanted to say that I was real mad that they had a shot of Mifu and Momoko holding hands and their broken soul gems between them, which is clearly like a callback to Madoka and Homura and some of the episode 10 stuff.
That's true.
And I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you. You don't get to do the same thing with these characters that have never even really properly interacted in the show. Eat shit.
That's true, yeah. There was like the combination of those two in particular being the ones that have the friendship death is so absurd.
Yeah.
Considering like they actually do have some backstory, you just never, ever, ever work to make it work.
Yeah.
Ever.
And Mitama's so mad about it, she clenches a piece of glass in her hand and it bleeds. Oh.
Yeah. Now, Ep 3 opened with a scene that I really appreciated, which was Kyubey sitting outside the shield that keeps the Doppel system running, looking at the Doppel system and going, this fucking sucks.
Like, my system's totally better.
Well, not even that my system's better, but you're saying, like, okay, so sure, you guys don't have to be witches in your system, but it seems like it just hurts other people. That seems, I don't get why you're doing this.
Yeah, our system helped all of humanity.
Yeah, whereas your system seems really selfish, and you're sacrificing others so you can be okay. Man, that's I don't get it. I don't get what you're up to.
And it's funny because I guess in theory he's talking to Alina, and I don't know how Alina's hearing what he's saying, but at first it just comes across as he's talking to the audience, which is pretty funny.
Well, he does do that in Madoka sometimes. Like in the original series.
Yeah, it's just, this is such a longer conversation.
Yeah, it is. And later on we do see him talking to Alina. So,
yeah.
Like just sort of having a chat while she's being crazy and he's being a dick.
Yeah, she's painting all crazy. Ooh.
Crazy painting.
Embryo Eve lands on a big street very dramatically, and there's a 3D car that flips towards the camera in super 3D, and it's like, wow, how cool.
Eve's just a kaiju now, stomping around like Godzilla.
Yeah. And Eve, I don't even know, like, so Eve hasn't been collecting energy from the Doppels, so I don't even know, like, what the fuck. I guess that she's just a witch that they pumped full of shit so that she can do a witch Big Bang now is the idea.
We saw her eating trains full of witches, remember?
Yeah.
Remember the scene where they put a mouth on her and the train just went into it and she's like, nom, nom, nom.
Oh, right. So, yeah, so her only, like, importance... Because in the game, Ui was still, like, kind of incorporated in her. Her big soul gem was still there.
Yeah.
But it's not in this. She's just, like, a witch that they seem to have arbitrarily decided to shove a bunch of other witches in to make her a really big witch so that they can make a witch Big Bang.
There was something there initially, but there was always this sort of weird, not quite explained thing about like part of Ui was in baby Kyubey, but part of Ui was also still in Eve because like Eve is wearing her soul gem.
Yeah, but they specifically show her soul gem being shoved into Kyubey in the anime.
Yeah, whereas I remember seeing a thing as like when you got close enough to the soul gem on Eve, you could see Ui's body in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like trying to crack it and get her out of it. And the idea is that they like put her personhood in the Kyubey, like her personality and stuff.
Yeah, and her soul, I guess. Because they're like eventually you combine the two and Ui comes back. That act also remanifests her back into the world so she's not erased anymore, which is how Toko and Nemuru got all their memories back and stopped being crazy and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Ugh.
But none of that's going to happen now. Yachio shows up to attack them on Eve, and everyone's just talking like they're having a fucking goddamn conversation while like a million things are flying around. Like, it just doesn't feel right in terms of the way it's mixed and everything.
No.
It's like, this isn't what anyone wants. Don't do this. Hey, while I'm throwing 50 spheres at you.
And I like Yachio. But like Yachio gets nothing to do for this last little chunk of the show.
Yeah, none of the girls except Iroha and the main team get anything to do. Suruno, Felicia, and Sana are all pointless to the show.
There's one other character who gets a bit of a feature in this episode.
You talking about the okay, yeah. let us continue.
Yeah. So yeah, Iroha wakes up inside what turns out to be baby Kyubey, and Ui's there. Ui's just kind of apologizing to Iroha while also saying, hey, it wasn't fair that you tried to sacrifice yourself so I could be happy because all I wanted was for you to be happy too. It's that thing I was talking about before where it's like, yeah, you guys have just both fucked each other over in the end.
Yeah.
Because you've just both guaranteed that nothing's going to work out for either of you.
I just have here in all caps, why isn't Iroha's existence erased?
Yeah, no, I get it should follow that would happen, but no. Iroha was trying to say, look, can't you come back? Can't you come back? And Ui's like, it's interesting because Ui is saying without saying, no, I'm super dead. I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
There's no there's no end where Ui gets to exist this time.
Yeah, she's permadead forever.
She's always going to die. So Ui sends Iroha off to save her friend.
There's someone who needs you.
Yeah. Now it's funny because we just saw Yachio fighting and struggling. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I was dumb because I forgot who Iroha's super best friend is. The only important girl on the show.
It's a girl Kuroe. It's everyone's favorite, very important character that we've all been waiting to find out why the fuck she's here. It's motherfucking Kuroe, Black Cloak Girl, who, the last thing we saw with her was them saying, why are you in this TV show? And her being like, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't be in this TV show. And so she's been sadly wandering off this whole time, but Iroha has to save her.
Kuroe, or as I said at the end of the season 1 podcast of the show, who? Because I completely forgot that she existed.
God, that was awesome. I'm just like, Kuroe is back. Kuroe. And you're like, what?
To be fair to me, she only appears twice in the first season, and once at the start and once at the end.
No, yeah, it was totally appropriate. It was just like, because obviously I'd been thinking about it and I'd been waiting for her to show back up because it was like, why the fuck does this character exist? But, if you aren't constantly waiting for her to show back up, it's just like, who?
So yeah, she's all goopy. And Iroha pops out of the ghostly baby Kyubey that was following her. We finally get Kuroe's deal. Again, we're back to this whole thing of weak girls, and it shits me.
So we've been seeing Kuroe being dragged by a doppel-looking thing that's holding on to her, dragging her back, and it happens to have a hood that looks exactly like Iroha's, which it turns out is a complete coincidence. Amazing show. Fuck you. She's got the white hoodie with the pink stripe on front, but it's a total coincidence. That's just popular. It's in season.
So Kuroe, back when she was magical girling, bumps into this other magical girl who was trying to save a cat in a witch's labyrinth.
Just like the beginning of the show, full circle.
Yeah, and...
Wow.
The girl was sort of pretty weak. Kuroe's going on and on about how she wasn't particularly strong, but this other girl is particularly weak.
I looked at this girl and I was like, this girl's a real piece of shit.
She had a very 2-star uniform.
Her design is so fucking bad. She has these bear mitt gloves, which I think was just so that the animators wouldn't have to draw more hands because it's really hard when you have 5 seconds. So she'll always reach out to hold Kuroe's hand or whatever, and it's just this lump shape. And she just looks like shit.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah, she never has a name or rendered eyes. Her job is to be a rando.
She looks like the NPCs in the game. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she asks Kuroe for a grief seed. Kuroe doesn't have any. Not even doesn't have any to spare. It has one on her. She has none on her.
Well, that's what she says.
Yeah, that's what she says. And the girl says, well, that's fair enough. I should try to get stronger. Maybe we'll see each other again sometime. She leaves and she was racked with guilt about, because she kind of knows this girl isn't going to be around for long. She just assumes the girl's probably dead.
Because that girl's such a piece of shit. Yeah, she's very confident that girl is probably dead now because she was just so shit.
Yeah, and it's this weird thing where Kuroe's going, she's not just saying that I didn't try to save her, she's saying I just didn't make a choice, which isn't true.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
She definitely made a choice. She chose not to help her because she was already worried about herself.
It's revealed later that she did have a grief seed and she just used it on herself because she was also very low on energy.
Yeah. It's one of those things, I think the show forgot the grief seeds get a couple of uses because they could have shared that one.
That's also definitely a thing, yeah. Also, when that witch leaves after they defeat it together, did you notice that it makes a weird dog whine?
I didn't know.
It goes like as it leaves, which I thought was really funny.
That is funny.
This is very random.
So what happens is Kuroe is just going up and up and up on a tower of goop.
Yeah, of sorrow goop.
Iroha is climbing the tower of goop, and Kuroe just keeps saying, I'm nothing, I'm a nothing character, which is true.
Yeah.
And just, I'm nothing, I'm nobody, I don't matter. And Iroha's not responding to any of this. She just keeps saying, I'll save you, I'm going to save you. Now, what happens is almost funny. The Tower of Goop gets so tall that she busts through the dome, which is the thing that makes the Doppel system work over... What's the name of the town again? Fuck.
Kamihama. Yeah, and it's something that we see Alina Gray do real quick in a way that really stresses, like, these girls are fucking OP for no reason. like she's able to just, like, bubble this entire town, just like, here, I'm going to do this real quick. Bam! And now the entire town is her barrier for the rest of the entire story.
Yeah, and it's sort of like this implication that the barrier is... Within this barrier, the Doppel system works, and outside it doesn't. Kuroe busts through the top of this barrier. And Kuroe explains that she just wants to die, which becoming a witch is, that's the way you do that if you're a magical girl. And the reason she wants to die is that Iroha's existence and Iroha always trying to save people and help people made her look at herself and feel really fucking bad about how she isn't like that. And she's like, I really wish I hadn't met you because I could have just kept pretending that I wasn't so bad. But now you're here and I look bad in comparison, so I want to die. And I'm dead.
Yeah. Also, Iroha is like riding this goop pillar up with her, and she has a transformation that's actually like the only decent transformation this season, because like it has a nice like kinetic aspect to it where she's like flying forward and then she like skids to a stop in a very, I'm sure Blueberry Bee would help me remember which Precure season it was where they were flying along and like kind of skidding along that checkerboard pattern, and it's like very kinetic and awesome. It was Fresh Precure, and so it felt like it was trying to do some Fresh Precure shit. Obviously not as good as Fresh Precure, but still pretty solid. But then she just goes back to clinging onto the pillar and yelling no at Kuroe. So it's like you did. Well, I guess she tries to connect with her, but all the connection does is it like shatters her doppel mask, and then she's still just like, I don't know, I still just kind of want to die though.
Yeah. It was tying in this weird thing about like how much longer do I have to be a magical girl, which for half a second was kind of interesting because there's something to the idea of like if you were just really fucking hating being a magical girl and you weren't very good at it, the doppel system does just kind of keep you around forever doing that in a sort of purgatory.
Yeah,
which would suck. And also, I guess like with Kuroe, I was kind of like, it's not Iroha's fault, and it's a kind of a weird thing to do. But the idea of this girl who just ended up falling to despair just in comparison to someone better than her was almost sort of interesting, I guess.
Yeah, like in some ways there's some relatable vibes there about how you can sometimes like feel more like a piece of shit if someone's doing so much better than you.
Yeah, or it's just demonstrably a nicer person than you were and stuff. Actually, Skip and Loafer, there's a character in that has a bit of that vibe from time to time.
Oh yeah.
Who's just sort of always comparing herself to everyone else and going, Jesus, these are just really nice people. What the fuck am I? Oh, I'm so calculating and awful.
And she didn't even become a giant murder beast.
Okay, if this is what Kuroe was here for, if this is the culmination of her character, maybe there was a point to her being here at some point. Like maybe there was something interesting we're going to do with her, because it does really throw Iroha for a second. The idea that...
Yeah, for a second is right.
Well, this is the thing. For half a second, there is this thing of like, fuck, I really insisted on following this girl around and getting up in her face and trying to help her, and that was exactly what drove her to despair. Like, if I had left her alone, she might have been better off.
Oh, the irony.
Yeah, there's an element of that, but it is like...
Oh, the irony. And Kyubey shows up and he's like, yeah, I guess you could say that you're the whole reason she died.
Yeah, this is one of those times where it's like, Kyubey, you're just being a tool. Come on, man.
Why are you here? Go away.
He really does only show up in this show to be an asshole and then leave.
Yeah.
It is like, I thought like, okay, well, there was something interesting you could have done with this, except what happens next in the next episode?
Well, wait, whoa, you're skipping to the next episode?
This episode ends with her Iroha killing Kuroe's witch.
Yeah, you can't just skip past that part, because it's funny, because first Kuroe goes witch, but because they want it to be more dramatic, she can talk as a witch still.
That's right.
And she says, now nobody will need to save me. Now I won't need to save anyone. Now I can... bleh. And Kuroe's body's still there, and she breaks her own body apart.
That's right, yeah, she rips the body into pieces.
And Iroha's like, no! And then she's like a witch crow thing, like a big giant crow thing, and she's flying, and Iroha's on her back, and she manifests just like a normal-ass looking, like, army knife out of her soul gem and stabs her all like, stab.
Yeah. And then there's like, she's just standing in a crater that's just like a goopy crater.
And she says, I'm sorry, Ui, I'm a no good big sister. Because remember, that's the whole thing Ui sent her back to do, was to save Kuroe, and isn't it so sad because she didn't? So cool. Good job, Ui.
Yeah, so for half a second, Ira was falling to despair, but then what happens?
No, you probably skipped past the ending of this one, right? Because it seems like nothing's going to be in it. Because it has a different ending song where it's like black and there's the Wings of Magius rotating symbol.
Okay, yeah.
And it seems very minimal. But then suddenly there starts to appear subtitles on screen that there's no voice, but there's subtitles speaking over like the second half of the ending. And it says, the soul gems are made from us. If we're not always on the side of goodness, they will shatter. Goodness is what kills us. So destroy it before it kills you. We will destroy all that is good, and then we will disappear.
Okay.
Who's saying that? What do they mean? It's just fucking dramatic sounding nonsense.
Yeah.
Fuck you, this show.
This show does
Fuck
this a
you.
lot. Just babbles in Madoka sounding stuff.
It's goodness that is what kills us. 'Twas beauty killed the beast.
I always think of like the posters that would crop up every now and again in the last season where it just says like, welcome cowardly magical girls and stuff. It's just, it just kind of rambles in vague Madoka speak at you.
Yeah, but it makes it sound like it like it has to be from Kuroe's perspective or something, but it doesn't actually make sense with what just happened.
No.
And it's just like, why did you do this dramatic thing that means nothing and says nothing, and I hate you?
It's just so edgy. It just wants to be edgy and say edgy things. The show is so teenage. Ugh.
Ooh. Now we can talk about episode 4 and how maybe it was Iroha's fault that Kuroe is driven to despair, and that's when Kyubey shows up and he's like, yeah, prob.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing he mentions is that, you stopped the Magius. Was that a good thing? And it's like, Iroha hasn't stopped the Magius.
I was trying to understand that there's aspects of Japanese conjugation that I think are a little more ambiguous sometimes in English. I think it's possible that her doppel self was saying, if you stop the Magia, so many more girls will die.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard to tell because the way that it was subtitled was, now that you've stopped the Magius.
It's like, no,
and it's like, that definitely didn't happen yet.
That's later. It's not yet.
Yeah.
So now she's trapped in a sort of half doppel dream where she's mumbling about how she sucks and she's no good.
There's a lot of floating chairs because, remember, chairs?
Yeah, chairs. We like drawing chairs.
Wow.
That guy he made that new film where the guy gets turned into a chair. He should have hired Shaft. They would have fucking loved that.
Oh, hell yeah. No, because they would just use 3D chairs. they don't actually animate them.
That's true. But yeah, so Yachio and the other villa girls are here and they're yelling at her that they're going to save her. And I'm just like, we've done this season already.
Yeah, but also first she talks to Kyubey she does a thing where she dramatically he's standing there and you won't believe it. A giant hole appears in his head where he's been dramatically shot by a girl who's mad at him. Wow, it's so cool. What a cool idea for a thing to happen to Kyubey in a shot.
Yeah, I'm a bit over it at this point. It's just
so, hey, remember the show you liked that had ideas?
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah. Yeah, the girls are running up a staircase of Yachio's billion spears and they're yelling at Iroha to remember them and their friends, and because we're friends, we'll get through it together. Tell us about the things you're feeling bad. And it's one of those things where, look, in another show, I don't mind this idea of sharing the pain around and relying on your friends and all that stuff. It's all good magical girl normal shit, but in this it's just such fucking nonsense. And we've done this exact bit before earlier in what is this one season.
Yeah, they had a whole fucking episode getting her out of her doppel.
Yeah, and now they're just doing it again, and it's meant to be cool, and then suddenly they're on a spaceship.
Yeah, wait, yeah, because, okay, so they all get to her and they all hold hands in, like 5-star formation.
Yeah.
And she's just instantly like, you're right, yeah! And now she's over it. She's over Kuroe dying. So good job with your entire plot point, Kuroe. That was very important to the plot.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we waited 2 whole seasons to find out why the fuck you're here.
Yeah, Kuroe dies and all this time, and she in the end had no significance because it's immediately cured by friendship. and she doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, it's just a scene to make her feel sad for a bit, just for 5 seconds.
There was also this thing about like Kuroe telling Iroha that like your mistake was that you didn't really understand the people you were trying to save.
Oh, her doppel self is telling her that.
Oh, doppel self is telling her that,
which is cool and kind of is part of the whole like what the problem they were having with Tsununo and stuff.
Yeah, and it does kind of apply to Ui as well, in that you should have known that Ui wouldn't have been satisfied with you sacrificing yourself for her sake.
Yeah.
And it does kind of apply to Kuroe as well, except that the problem is that she never had the opportunity to get to know Kuroe because no one did. We didn't. Because that's like the thing she says as they're falling in the 5-star friendship formation. She says, I'm sorry, Kuroe. Kuroe, I didn't know anything about you. And I'm like, neither did we. No one did.
Yeah, and also, she's not the one who decided she needed to save Kuroe. Ui fucking teleported her to Kuroe and said, this is your first mission as a magical girl back in the world, is you need to save Kuroe.
I guess to be fair, she's like tried to do a bit of that before. One of the better episodes in this whole fucking show was the one inside her doppel dream, and her and Kuroe have that little conversation while they got the sparklers. They were chatting and they were trying to work out, like, it was always that impression that, they were just acquaintances, but Iroha was sort of taking an interest in her. Like, I don't know.
Weird. It really feels like they were just told to make a new character that could be like a tie-in mysterious character to also roll for the gotcha.
Yeah.
And they had no interest in her and no idea what the fuck to do with her.
Yeah. It really does feel that way. It really does feel like in the way that a lot of things in this show feel like they were done on the run and kind of half-assed. Kuroe almost feels like the pinnacle of all that. You just never really came up with an idea and you rush something right at the end, and then it has to be really quickly dismissed because it doesn't actually fit into the story.
Plus you had to waste a bunch of our time being like, something's gonna happen with her. Woo.
And then it doesn't. And it's fine.
And anyways, now that they all held hands, they summoned a giant arrow spaceship that looks like something from Yuki Yuna that they can all fly to the final battle on.
It's so funny. Where did that come from?
That's what Connects do now.
Where did that come from?
Fuck it.
They just have an airship.
I mean, I guess it makes more sense after last season where they made that silly fucking Kyoko bow and shit.
Yeah, but like my question is, okay, so you can have airships, you can make Kyoko bows, we knew this connects. The truck. Why was that truck Yachio's connect with someone else? Is that what that was?
Wait, why? She can just drive a truck.
Yeah, but like if you could make a fucking airship that can get you from city to city really quickly, why did you take a truck?
Well, you need at least 5 people to make an airship.
There were 5 people in the truck.
Shit. She didn't know him that well. You have to know each other super well. You have to have a social link at least A rank or above with 5 characters, and then you can use summon ship. and then you have an arrow ship to go fly the final battle. Everyone knows this. I don't even know why I'm explaining this.
My point is there's never any explaining the truck. They managed to find ways to make the truck even more inexplicable as the show goes on.
It's just a truck that she has.
Are we really pretending?
I mean, I don't know why she would have a truck. It's not like she lives in the country. Like she has that kind of small truck that like a lot of people had where I lived because they're farmers. I don't know why that's the vehicle. It's just so they could stand in the back of it and have a shittily drawn fight.
Well, it's also because like I think at that point then she's nowhere near home, so I'm pretty sure she did steal that truck.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I mean, fine, fair. But she's got that mad model money there solved.
Okay. So that's why she bought a truck. She's a cool model. They all have trucks.
No, well, I mean, she can burn it. The money, I mean, not the truck.
All right, so they're all in the city now. I think it's Mitakihara, but it's hard to tell.
Maybe the cities are like in the show they like kiss, like they're literally right next to each other, so they're like on the border. They
could be. Yeah, it's weird. Because like I said, it feels like the show lost track because the city in the game that gets blown up, like damaged by the whole thing, is Kamihama because Walpurgis never stopped heading for it, like switching around and heading for it, and that's where the big battle is. Whereas this time it was explicitly said that it was heading back to Mitakihara, and they said they had to fly Eve to Mitakihara. So I guess it's Mitakihara, but then like you see at the end of the show, you see the girls like living in the ruins of Mitakihara. So like that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Wait, of Kamihama, you mean?
No, Mitakihara, because this shouldn't be Kamihama getting damaged. That's the thing.
Well, Kamihama definitely also gets damaged.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
I think the idea is that Walpurgis was in Kamihama flying towards Mitakihara and never made it there. No, wait, she definitely makes it there eventually. Well, it's because they never end up stopping her. Well,
that's the thing, because
that's another aspect.
That's the thing to me, is that when Toku and Nemu take off and on Eve, they explicitly say we have to go to Mitakihara because that's where Walpurgisnacht is.
That's where Walpurgisnacht is heading, but she's not all the way there yet. So they have to go in the direction of Mitakihara, but they'll intercept.
This is what I mean by the show. I think the show lost track because it just doesn't.
Yeah.
The sequence of things you see at the end doesn't make a great deal of sense.
No.
There's like a sort of a vague montage that's mostly stills. So many cameos in the stills. But at least, this time at least, I'll say this for these cameos. They were wise and made them stills because that means that the girls don't look utterly jank this time. Like, it's much better than the really crappy cameos we got in like episode 6 last time.
Oh yeah, wait, when they get the ship and they're gonna go intercept the Eve, her doppel self says, "See, now you have to choose again who to save." And I'm like, what? What is it?
It was no. She's talking about whether or not you want to stop the doppel system or not. Like, are you going to? Because that was the thing she was bugging her about before. Is like, are you going to?
Oh, save the people you know, or a bunch of theoretical people in the future?
Kind of, yeah. Or are you going to save magical girls by leaving the doppel system intact, or are you going to risk magical girls and save everyone else who would be killed by the doppel system expanding?
I guess.
Is the thing of magical girls or normal people? Again.
It's just funny because like she's presenting it like Iroha has this whole like a quandary coming up of like you can save your girlfriend or you can save Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
But it's just she's doing the thing that she's been planning to do, which is stop Eve, and that's what she does. And there was never like some kind of quandary.
No, it sort of ends up being a quandary, but I'll talk about that when I get to the end. Yeah, they're fighting Eve. All of the magical girls everywhere turn up to help, and they strap Eve to a skyscraper to stop her moving.
I have written in my notes, the big arrow ship turns into a bunch of big rappies that tie embryo Eve to a building.
Yes.
Like you do.
You know what big rappies are good for?
I mean, yeah, they were pretty good at bonding, that embryo Eve.
Okay, so yeah, Toko and Nemu are mad and they're yelling at Iroha, and Iroha just kind of slingshots herself onto Eve where the two girls are and pins them there.
It is funny because at first they're begging to all the magical girls, think about this rationally, which is funny when it's like they're just constantly making Toka do like crazy person crick neck faces.
Now, again, it's this thing of Toko and Nemu have already explicitly rejected not doing this because Iroha and Ui wouldn't want you to kill people. And so it becomes more about this thing of Iroha saying...
That was so 5 minutes ago, Fiend.
Well, this time when Iroha's trying to convince them not to do all this, now she's saying don't do it because, like, I just want you guys to stick around and I want to be your big sister and love you for as long as I can. And that kind of wins them over. And I guess the thing... It
does. They're done now.
The thing that I kept thinking about in all this is, like, no one ever says, hey, don't kill everyone because you shouldn't do that.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the argument that didn't work.
I suppose. But even then, it's almost like they're saying, hey, don't kill everyone because Iroha and Ui wouldn't want that, not, hey, don't kill everyone because you shouldn't kill people. You know?
Yeah.
Like
well, hey, you got to use the arguments available to you for the target audience.
Yeah. I do remember thinking, like, this being this, like, one weird little offshoot universe where, like, this really is as bad as things could go. Like, this is such a massive worst case scenario for the sort of things that could happen with magical girls.
For sure.
Yeah. Like, because in other universes, yeah, it fucking sucks. Or, you know, like, what Madoka ends up doing at the end of the series is, like, potential best case scenario for how things could go. Whereas this one, oh no, this was a solution that really went pear-shaped.
Well, it's going to get worse.
It is.
But also, see, what I bring to the table is that I notice important things about the visual art form in this show.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So, Eve, while they're having this conversation, Eve, by the way, looks like a big moth thing. I think we talked about it a bit in last season.
Yeah.
Eve bleeds blood while they're talking to show that it's dramatic. She cries blood. Sorry.
Yeah.
She cries blood. But then when they're happier and coming around, she cries piss. Did you notice?
And the piss goes up.
Yes.
Blood is dragged down by gravity. Piss flies up in the air. Everyone knows this.
Her tears turn into golden colored globs, yellowish liquid globs that fly up into the air like they're zero gravity pee.
Yeah. So once Nemu and Toka are like, we love you too, anti-gravity piss. coming from
It's
Eve's eyes.
amazing.
Why? What was that?
And it would be a disservice to all of you if we did not inform you of this.
Why was this?
She cry pee.
Why was this a thing? What are you doing?
I assume it's supposed to be like golden is the happiness color, but nobody thought about, hey, if you cry yellow liquid.
Okay, so the girls agree, okay, let's not kill everyone.
Yeah, we're over it.
But now Alina's here. Alina's here here and
my
she's
girl.
like, oh, Alina has an interesting like X-Men 1 plan, which is to make everyone a magical girl and then make everyone witch, which I thought was like, huh.
I was annoyed, but it's not even witch. First she's like, hey, no worries, I'll finish the cool revolution. I'll make all humans into magical girls. And I was like, you know what? I like that as a concept, Alina. I'm feeling it. And then she says, I'll fuse my doppel with Eve and then fuse that with the Walpurgis. And then everyone will have magic, but no grief seeds. And so they'll all instantly doppel and die. Or I guess everyone would just be like one of those weird permadoppels.
Yeah.
And the world would be full of like these madness doppel creatures. Blah.
Yeah, the idea being everyone, this way everyone will share the fate of magical girls.
But yeah, you can't frame that as I'm going to make everyone magical girls. Don't fucking tickle my balls like that. You can't tell me you're going to make everyone magical girls and then what you're actually doing is just killing everyone. You can't fucking do that.
Well, it's kind of like, it's again one of those reverse engineering things where it's like, so the original plan was like to make other people suffer a little bit in order to help magical girls escape their fates. You know, and that's fair enough because magical girls have done so much for them. Actually, I think even earlier during the conversation between Alina and Kyubey, Alina repeats that bullshit about how human civilization wouldn't have gotten as far as it has without magical girls, which always annoyed me as an idea that is just like, oh yeah, that's just true.
Oh yeah, and then she says like, but you know who really should, like receive some payback for all this? So the idea is like now in this episode, she's revealing who she means is everyone, humans.
Yeah, yeah. I get the idea that like, okay, so rather than, you having to suffer so we're safe from our fate, everyone will just share the same fate and that'll suck. And like...
she's crazy.
It's as like that part of it. Okay, everyone is going to share our fate. On its own, I get that. But you're having to reverse engineer it back to I'm going to make everyone magical girls is a really funny way of putting it. And also just the assumption that, if you combine Alina, who makes little barriers, and Eve, who does something, and Walpurgis Nacht, who's just a big witch, then, oh yeah, that's totally something you can do. You can make everyone magical girls. Yep. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
And she's just having a good time talking about it. She's like, haha, I'm going to do it. Like she doesn't really want revenge or anything. She's just having a good time.
I do love that, like, when Alina explains, that she's going to turn everyone into magical girls and they'll all turn into permadoppels and stuff. Toka goes, hey, that won't save anyone. And I'm just sort of like, yeah, she knows. That's not what she's trying to do.
Hey, did you forget the part where Alina, like, you keep her around, but she's fucking batshit crazy?
Yeah.
And she says, bye-bye, good girl, Tachi. Bye-bye, Magius. Bye-bye, Alina Gray. And then, like, her doppel goes into Eve and blood splurts out everywhere, because why the fuck not?
Yeah, and then it's kind of like it's like an Alina face on Eve, and it's floating around, and so Toka and them are like, oh, that's cool, we'll just kill ourselves. And they do. They turn themselves into, like, doppel bullets.
Yeah, they're like, we forgot one of the sacrifices that can be made. We'll sacrifice ourselves. And so they go doppel and fly after her all fast, and they trap Iroha again, but this time it's just in a light cone. And yeah, they're dead. What? B is saying it's called Neo Dorothy motherfucker. the witch, like, that's what the runes say for the name of her doppel. God damn it. See, once again, I'm forced to stan Alina. And there's also a kind of cool animation at one point when she goes into the doppel mode.
Yeah.
Someone here is having a good time.
No, we've always said that it seems clear they like Alina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why not? She's the only one here. Neo Dorothy motherfucker.
She really is called Alina Eve, is a witch featured in Magia Record. Neo Dorothy motherfucker.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, see, again, she's the only one allowed to have fun around here. Gaslight gatekeep girl boss. And also Uikube, the little Uikube who looks like the normal little Kyubey again, teleports onto their shoulder so she can die with them. So that's nice.
The three of them all together and they all die.
Yeah, and there's a big energy explosion when they all hit, and now it's time for a train.
Yeah, they just cut to a train in space. I'm like, I've been seeing too many trains in space lately. This is just a thing.
Trains, oh, my trains, oh, got small ones. Little trains. So the thing is that, do you remember when we talked about Night on the Galactic Railroad early in the show?
I don't.
It's a famous Japanese novel that, it was in the very first podcast that we talked about it. And they tried to do some things early on in the show, especially. And it was there in the game, too, that like Yachio and Iroha were parallels to these characters from Night on the Galactic Railroad.
Okay.
And so this is like them trying to bring that shit full circle by suddenly having this cutscene with Yachio and saying goodbye to these ghost girls on the Galactic Rail. It's just very like, it's technically a full circle, I guess, because look, woo, she's on a train now in space. Wow.
Yeah, there's two scenes here. There's this scene with Yachio talking to all of her dead friends, which now includes Mifuyu and Mamako because they died.
Yeah. No, first she's confused. She's like, "Why are you talking like that?" But
and it's also interspersed with Ui standing under like a giant monolith, and Iroha runs up.
Wait, that's after. We got to talk about the Yachio one.
They do
first.
kind of intercut them a bit towards the end. My general point why I'm mentioning both of them is that this is just like dramatic death nonsense at this point.
Yeah.
It's just the two characters who get to keep living, talking to all of their dead friends and saying bye, and the dead friends going, "We have to go now, carry us with you," blah, blah, blah. That's fucking lame.
It's great because Ui just already had a scene like that
She
inside
did.
the Kyubey verse with Iroha, but they were like, shit, that was too far away from the dramatic climax music end of the show. So they need to have another conversation now about how it's okay for her to be dead.
Yeah, I think they take Yachio's whole deal, like her curse, and make it a lot lamer.
Oh, I thought it was kind of sweet.
I thought this was just a bit too pap for me.
Aww. Because they said it's not that you kill everyone around you. It's like your power is to carry our memories with you forward or whatever.
Yeah, you get power from carrying on our hopes and dreams. And it's like, yeah, so it is just a straight up coincidence that people kept dying around her. Which, like, I guess, okay, they're magical girls. They do a dangerous job. I guess there will be some deaths around you and stuff. But I don't know. I thought there was something more interesting to Yachio when it was like maybe there is like genuinely something about the power you were given that does put people at risk. But because it gives some ability to those people who know that and want to stay with it, like that choice that Iroha makes.
Well, yeah, but she already made that choice. And it's also like, but then you have to be like, what? So those other girls were just, I guess, they should have been better at this because they died, but then nobody later died because they all don't suck as much at avoiding being killed by Yachio's super semblance.
No, I'm not saying necessarily makes those girls any lamer. I just sort of thought there was something interesting about the ambiguity to it, and that because none of this is Yachio's fault. If this was something that her power was doing, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought there was. I thought there was something more intriguing about that and the dynamic it brings to the people around her. Whereas this thing of just like, oh, you carry the hopes of your, deceased friends with you, it just feels sort of.
Well, it's also just something they're saying. Like the fact that Yachio has a curse that makes everyone die around her is also just something that she says.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Never had any.
I know,
Yeah.
but it's like it is that sort of it at least like I don't know. I just found that more interesting.
Perspectives.
I found that more interesting. Whereas this idea of you carry forward the memories of your friends, I'll always be with you type stuff. That's so done to death and straightforward. I don't know.
You're just in another seat on that train, and those girls are saying that to their friend that's still alive as they pass on, and you're like, boo.
No, I'm not. I don't know. It's just like it's My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. This is a very old, very flat concept for me. I don't know.
2 thumbs down, shut up, Momoko.
Come on. You know what I mean. It's
No, yeah, I
pap.
get you. But it's just a thing they're saying to me, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, this whole scene is very silly and very contrived and whatnot.
But it's also like, I think it actually is true though, because it does manifest as part of her power a bit later. Like she gets an actual literal power up in the form of like a wreath on her spear that like, and she's like, oh shit, that's the hopes of my friends. I don't know.
Well, but that's the thing. Like you call it a power up. She has like 4 little ribbons on her spear, and it's like, oh, they left me a magical memory ribbon. I don't know if that powers up her powers that much.
It's definitely not as much of a power up as Iroha was about to get. Because like,
oh my god,
because Iroha has her scene where she says bye to Ui's saying bye, and Iroha's going no and stuff. But Iroha does get a significant power up because what does she get?
Well, wait, we have to talk about the conversation he has with Ui, because Ui's like, I'm made of magic, so there's little pieces of me, and the smile of every child and the tear of every butterfly, and so every time that you feel happiness, it's like I'm there or something. So be happy, and then I'll be there with you.
You have to go keep finding ways to be happy because that's how I'll get to find you.
Something.
And Sarah in the chat, let's all love Ui.
Let's all love Ui. So Iroha comes out of that. It's like, yeah, and now she has Ui's collection abilities because I guess she had a psychic talk with her, and she makes magical pink ribbons that touch the hand of every magical girl within some radius, and so that they can all connect.
Yeah, so that they give her a huge power up, so she gets to make a real big arrow.
Yeah, she's got a much bigger ship now. Way bigger ship.
Yachio's there too, handing her a little bit of extra power.
There's nothing more magical girl than making a slightly bigger 3D rendered ship.
Yeah, and fire it
with the rocket on the back.
They shoot it at Alina Eve, and Alina Eve gets a big hole in her head.
The explosion when they kill Eve is so Mob Psycho. It looks so out of place. Like the colors and effects are just like the way that they do explosions in Mob Psycho. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? Go back to your own show.
We should mention that, like, while there have been a ton of all these little cameos of these other, like, just shots of these other girls just standing there, there is one character who was supposed to be much more significant that wasn't, but that actually gets a few lines.
Oh, Eye Patch Girl?
Yeah, Eye Patch Dommy.
I honestly didn't remember how much she showed up in the last season.
She barely did. In the last season, she got like one shot. Whereas, but like obviously in the game, she's much more significant. Like she's a proper major character.
Amazing.
Yeah, but anyway.
And there's a very silly looking shot of Iroha and Yachio looking up all dramatically. That's like very jank looking, and they linger on it for a long time. And I was like, that feels like the right note to end this battle on. and then Yachio puts her hand on Iroha's shoulder like they're doing like a Christian side hug, but kind of romantic. But then in the next shot, the other girls are running at them, and they're like 6 feet apart, and it's amazing.
2 girls standing in some ruins.
6 feet apart because they're not gay unless that'll make you buy the gacha cards, and then I mean they can be gay if that's what you want, if that'll sell the merch.
Okay, so
credits roll,
but there is an after credits scene, and for me, this is the most darkly funny thing that's happened so far in the entire show.
Oh.
So we have a voiceover about how no one's going to remember us. Because there's a whole thing about Kuroe saying, okay, so hang on. What did Kuroe say about the damage that is done to whichever city this is?
Kuroe says that, good job, Iroha. Now nobody will know what happened. People believe that a combination of typhoons, hurricanes, and terrorist attacks by an unknown group caused the damage.
Yeah, a typhoon, an earthquake, and a terrorist attack all at once.
Because a typhoon and an earthquake weren't sufficient for some reason. There also had to be a terrorist attack of unknown origin.
Yeah. The whole purpose of this little scene at the end is this idea that, like, okay, so no one in this world is going to know what these girls did. And in the wider sort of understanding of how things go, no one's ever going to know that there was this attempt to fix the problem of witches that completely failed. And you end up with, this reference to Godoka, like watching the record at the end, which is the very last thing we see is that, like, the book closing on Magia Record being held in Godoka and Iroha's, for some reason's, hands up in space.
Yeah, like she's handing the book off to Godoka, like, here's our record that no one knows about what we did. Wait, you're not skipping past all the other stuff, right?
The thing I want to talk about is the second last shot. Do you want to talk about the other things we see?
Yeah, because when they're listing all the stuff that nobody knows, they say, nobody knows that we failed to reach our destination. And Homura, you see her in the ruins of Mitakihara, and she teleports out to the next timeline because they didn't stop Walpurgis Nacht, and presumably Madoka has died off screen, so she yeets to a new timeline.
Explicitly, it is embryo Eve Alina that gets killed. We don't know what happened to Walpurgisnacht. As far as we know, nothing happened to Walpurgisnacht.
Yeah, we see the shot that looks like, the shot when Walpurgisnacht has killed all of Homura's friends. So that just happened off screen as Homura's thing failed, and now she's going to another timeline, which in theory just makes this whole thing not have happened in a way more so than the game, because in the game they actually succeed and she decides to stay in this timeline.
In the game, it's always twitchy, and it's part of that thing about how this is one very strange timeline that exists on its own, because functionally this should never happen. Like, there's no, in a universe where Homura is time looping, why is there this one loop where all of this other shit happened? And yeah, at the end of the game she decides to stick around, because at the end of the game, for the most part, everything's cool. It's a very hand-wavy, silly ending, but like most of the characters survive. Even Mifuyu, whose gem gets shattered, is saved by Iroha. And the doppel system's kind of sticking around, so no one has to be a witch. So Homura sort of goes, I think I'm not going to try looping again, because this might be our best shot at saving Madoka.
My Madoka ain't dead.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas, in this version, we see Homura leaving because, this was fucked. I'm off.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
I don't think they thought about the implications of showing her doing that. I really don't. Because the rest of the montage does kind of feel a little bit like, time goes on type stuff. Because like you see Saruno delivering some food on a little scooter through the ruins and things.
Yeah.
Time goes on, things return to normal. For that, like for Homura, that is, I'm back to my time looping hell. It's like,
yeah. That also implies that all of these timelines like do continue on after Homura goes back, which makes a lot more like sad problems with the show.
Well, yeah,
it was.
Yeah, because that implies that there's for the one timeline where Homura sort of saved Madoka, there's just a bunch of dead Madokas.
Yeah, and like anyone she like might have screwed over or whatever is just that continues existing as an existence.
Yeah, as B mentions, we do see Yachio with a haircut, but she got a haircut short. That's kind of cute.
Yeah, aw.
Yeah.
So after that Homura, they say nobody knows about the art that Alina created. Before, when Alina was crazy painting at the end of the world, she like wrapped up one of her paintings and put it in the mail, like she posted it, and it went to her silly friend from the game who draws manga, Karin, who is awesome because like obviously if you watch the anime you have no idea who the fuck that is. And it's also like she drew this like crazy magic madness painting, so I don't know how Karin's gonna feel about that after she gets that from her dead friend who tried to kill everyone.
Yeah, that was always the thing in the game, is like they had to sort of, Karin and Alina being the two artists who are also friends, there was something cute about that. But like it always had to sort of try to sort of edge around the fact that Alina was a homicidal crazy person.
Yeah. And they say nobody knows that we gave everything to save another, and it shows Ui and Iroha back in the pictures together, the ones that where one of them, like where Ui was an existence. I don't know why. I guess that's just in their imagination.
Well, I guess in this version I guess in this version she never was brought back, was she? So those pictures should still be the goofy pictures where the Ira was just hugging no one.
Like, that implies that people would be able to remember Ui now.
Yeah.
But then it's like, so what, are Iroha's parents freaking the fuck out?
3 girls mysteriously disappeared from a children's hospital. Like...
Great.
Yeah.
Also, there's a shot of Iroha very dramatically looking over like the ruins with her hair blowing in the wind, but her leg is super long and super broken. Like it's just really blatantly like it's like they had 2 different positions they were imagining drawing her leg in, and they put the foot from one of the positions and the leg from the other. So she just has this big broken ass leg, and it's so beautiful and dramatic.
That's actually the shot that I wanted to talk about. That's the one that I find incredibly darkly funny.
Tell me why.
Okay, so this is what I was saying before about a worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
In the game, it is a very hand-wavy, overly happy, poorly explained ending. In which, like we say, despite the fact that Eve was blown up and everything was returned to sort of how it was before, for whatever reason, the doppel system continues to operate and almost everyone survives and Ui's back and like everything's just kind of cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like the girls will go on to have further adventures. The anime version of this, Ira is standing there looking out over this destruction where like a lot of people have to have died. right?
Yeah, they did kill thousands.
But whatever happened in this city, a lot of people are dead. You see the magical girls pulling survivors out of the ruins and stuff, which implies some number of people have to have died.
Yeah, this is a giant rubble thing.
Yeah, in this universe, this thing has wiped out this city. Kuroe has a dead sister. Both of Kuroe's dead sister's friends are also dead. Kuroe has other friends who are all dead. The doppel system is also gone.
Yeah.
So, which means that magical girls are just back to turning into witches at some point, and Kuroe thinks this is awesome because he tells her great job. And she turns and looks angrily at Kuroe. Done. That's where the show stops. This show has stopped in the absolute worst case scenario of any of these scenarios. Everything is fucked. Everything is as bad as it has ever been, and there's no doppel system still.
No. She said dramatically that she's glad she became a magical girl, and all the magical girls are like smiling sadly now and like doing their best. So it's a good ending. Good ending. And she handed the book to Madoka in Garuka Realm, so it's cool.
I don't think they thought about how dark this ending is. It's just... everything is fucked. Everything is so fucked.
Yeah, like...
and that's the note they leave on. Like
They treat it tonally like the end of the game where, like, some stuff got destroyed, but, like, at least everything's kind of okay and we're going to move on and do our best.
Yeah.
And they treat it like that, except that everything's destroyed and nothing's fixed and your friends just killed thousands of people.
Yeah, and they're also dead. Like, it's this thing of everything that was attempted in this to make things better made things so much worse. And just the fact that, like I say, the whole thing earlier on was like, Iroha's doppel saying to her, "Are you going to really destroy the doppel system? Like, is that what you're willing to do and to doom all of these magical girls?" And the fact that it's Iroha looking over this destruction and Kuroe says, "Great work, Iroha," and Iroha turns to him angrily, and that's where it stops. Like,
no, well, I mean, you got to count the Madoka shot where she's like, "I'll never forget."
Sure,
like you don't understand, Kuroe. It's good, and I'll remember all these good girls that we got all killed.
What I guess for me, it's like that voiceover is running the whole time, whereas the shot we see of Iroha is almost like an Iroha who isn't doing the stupid voiceover that makes no sense.
Yeah.
This is an Iroha who is like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, we have fucked this." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is so broken. This is such a dark ending, and the show is trying to pretend that it's not. It's kind of funny.
It's very weird in that way.
Yeah. I cannot get over how broken this show is. Like, the game story was already pretty rough in terms of just not being all that well put together and having lots of holes and everything. But this is like... they made that story so much worse and so much more unnecessarily dark.
But it's so funny because, like, the way everything goes down, like, when I finished watching it the first time, I felt nothing. Because, like, just nothing happening makes sense, and music cues are playing that, like, are like, you should feel this way right now, and I'm like, I don't. Yeah. And I just was like, that sure happened. That sure was a lot of things theoretically happening, but I can't think of any of these girls as people, and none of this makes any sense, and none of it's anything.
That's totally a valid feeling, because, yeah, it is, like... it is also just hot nonsense. Like, everything is so disconnected and everything is so fast that nothing is ever set up. Like, all the things that are happening, or, like I mean, you're meant to feel bad that Kuroe dies, but like Kuroe this whole time has been this nothing character who we've never understood why they're here, or like any of this stuff. It's just also, it's so disjointed that, yeah, of course you can't feel anything. Of course you don't care.
Yeah. When I was trying to fall asleep the night after I finished watching the final episodes, I was just like, so many people had to animate this and like draw the backgrounds and promote it and try to, do all this stuff. And this is what you did. And that shouldn't be okay.
Yeah. No, that's that feeling I get a lot of times when I watch like a particularly shitty anime. Is just like feeling terrible for all the people who put a lot of effort into this and it's nothing. It's just garbage.
Yeah, and they were all underpaid, you just know it and stuff. And it's like people broke their backs for this.
Yeah.
This world is unjust. But like Homer, I'll continue to fight for it.
See, that's the thing when you get dickheads who talk about the original show being all doomy and horrible and everything's bad, but like the original show ends on...
not everyone who feels that way is dickheads.
Oh, no, sorry. Okay, all right, sorry. No, I'm thinking of one particular dickhead, but like it's not... but like... Well, I think there are people who express the idea that they find the show too bleak.
Yeah.
But the ending is not bleak. The ending is bittersweet because they have ended up in a slightly better situation. And while it's sad, it's like... we've done the best we could considering everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just like, no, you failed. You failed at everything you were trying. Everything's fucked.
Yeah, and they're trying to treat it the same way with the same bittersweet feeling, but no, only things were only made worse.
Yeah. So funny. It's so funny.
It's crazy that this is a real show that followed like my favorite show that exists.
Yeah. It might be worth us finally getting up our asses and doing the Rebellion slushy just because it'd be nice to talk about a Madoka follow-up property that does have some merit.
Yeah. Like at least there's ideas there and stuff that make sense.
Yeah.
And you can talk about them.
That's the thing. I really have no issues, almost no issues at all with Rebellion apart from the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. And some of the mommy shots.
Oh yeah, there's
the beginning of mommies increasing mommies.
Yeah, that's sort of where that started. That very sad, unfortunate trend started. But there's a lot of good shit, and it's also like it does feel like a continuation of the show because the characters still behave like they did. These are still the same people for the most part.
Yeah. I'm sure I talked about it when we did a whole fucking podcast series about Madoka, but someone was recently watching it for the first time in the Discord and appreciating it. And it's just like they get so much goddamn work done with those girls and their worldviews and how you can appreciate like why they do certain things and where they're coming from and empathize with that. And like then shows like this have 50,000 things happening, but nobody feels like they have an inner world that you can track, and it sucks.
Yeah, well, with the exception of Yachio, probably.
Yeah,
but like that's almost accidental in this thing.
And she doesn't get to be in this finale much.
No, but I mean, in the show, even like there's like she gets to do a couple of things she doesn't get to do in the game. But like a game is a VN; it has so much more time than the original series did to set that sort of stuff up.
Yeah.
Whereas, we did talk about it at the time that Madoka is like the original series is dense, and really efficient and very like well constructed in that sense, in the amount of stuff they get done in the amount of time they had.
Yeah. And shows like this will be dense, but it's just like another like 50,000 bullshit things happening, not actually like 50,000 interesting things happening with the characters and story.
Yeah, it's that thing of, I mean, like Ruby did this too, is throwing all this shit at the wall. It's not actually like, tied together properly or all that thoughtful or anything. It's just lots of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a box full of fucking packing foam. Like, it's just sort of, like there's a lot in there, but there's also nothing of substance. Like, it's fluffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I finally watched it to know what happens.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah. Next on the table, which will be happening pretty soon, because we had to pike out of Magical Destroyers. No, Crackly, we're not doing the Steven Universe slushy. We're never doing that.
We'll never do it.
Never do it.
Steven Universe slushy is me like once every 3 months in the Discord getting mad about things again.
Yeah. Steven Universe discourse is so poisoned that there's no way for us to talk about how we really did fucking love that show, but we have a lot of problems with where things went.
I mean, we could, but do you want to wade into those waters?
No, I don't want to attract those. I don't want to attract that sort of discourse to us, so we're not never going to ever do that. The movie was bad. The future was terrible.
Oh.
What we're going to do instead, because we had to stop doing Magical Destroyers, but there is quite a bit of stuff this season, anime season, that has merit.
We need nourishment.
We're going to do a wrap-up of 3 shows that we actually quite liked, or at least in my case, I should say, 2 shows. We're going to do 2 shows we like, and a 3rd show that I'm going to watch that I've heard very nice things about.
Yeah, we're both watching Skip and Loafer's good show.
We're going to talk about Skip and Loafer. I could talk for like a good solid 20 minutes about how happy Now makes me.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what a fucking beautifully written trans female character. Like, fuck me.
She's very good.
God, she makes me sad because it's like, in a way, because like, I don't think I've seen as good trans rep on a TV show so far. And like, she just suddenly pops up and hits all these buttons real quick. It's kind of amazing.
She's just so clearly a fucking person.
Yeah. And everything about her is very respectful while also being. Look, we've got to save this. We've got to save this for the show.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of other things. There's lots of other good shit in Skip and Loaf to talk about. It's very nice.
But yeah, I have caught up to it except for an episode or maybe 2 by now.
Yeah.
But I've been watching it. It's very good.
So we'll talk about that. You're also watching.
I've been watching more of Kawaii Sugi Crisis, the show where the alien comes to Earth and is distracted from her duties by cats being just very important and good.
That's been a nice healing sort of show.
The problem is, Fiend, they keep wanting me to look at humans and and see things happening with the humans, and I'm like, you fools, you fucking fools. I don't care.
This is not the point of this show, surely.
I don't need you to introduce more characters that are not cats.
And
Her cat continued to be extremely good.
Yeah, and I'm almost caught up in Skip and Loafer, or Skip to Loafer, depending on which version you want to.
You can't pronounce it too.
Oh.
Skip to my loaf.
Skip to Malufa. Well, that's how they write it out when they write out the Japanese
To.
or skip to lof. Okay.
Skip to lofa.
I'm going to watch Edamai Elf, which is about an elf who lives in a temple who is an otaku. And apparently it's quite cute. Otaku elf is the thing that people refer to it as. Edamame, sorry.
Yeah, someone just posted a picture of Edamame. Edamame elf.
Edamame is apparently quite cute, so I'm going to check that out. We will talk about those 3 shows because they all seem nice.
Yeah, and plus, like, we don't have to like do a full plot breakdown of any of them or anything.
No.
So we'll just have like a nice little wrapped up tasty.
Yeah. After that, I've got to watch all of Birdie Wing, and I think I've got to tell you about it.
Fuck yeah.
Because, like, my understanding of what is happening now is that I've seen all these screenshots of people screaming golf because their golf powers are getting so powerful that they're slowly killing them because they're just this good at golf.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta catch up. I can catch up on this fucking nonsense.
Amazing. Oh, people be asking if we're keeping up with G-Witch. So Fiend, it turns out, isn't super excited to just watch people suffer all the time, so she's not really a Gundam gal.
Yeah.
Sorry. She's not like, yay, I just want to watch people have the worst time in their fucking lives forever in war.
Yeah, I might, like, when the series is finished, I might go back and watch it. But, like, watching this thing week to week, as it seems right now, it's just like, yeah, the nicest girl you know, the nicest girl possible is being tortured by her abusive mother and everyone else in the universe, and even her girlfriend is like about to marry someone else or some shit. So it's just like constant suffering every day, all the time. And I'm like, I don't want to watch that.
Whereas for my part, I want to know whether they're actually going to sail the ship. I know people will say like, how can you even say that when like they're, you know, engaged? And I'm like, anime. Don't fuck with me.
Come on.
And it's very possible they'll like kill Minorin off or something, and I don't want to deal with that.
That is absolutely an option here as well. That'll just end up being like stock standard tragic gays. Like just because they're aware that like this season has been very successful in drawing in new viewers and everything, and actually like I think this is like one of the highest rated Gundam series in quite a while. Yeah,
and I'm sure it has cool stuff about it. It looks good, but if these two girls don't end up together at the end, I'm gonna be like, no more anime, no more.
Yeah, and like I say, I just don't want to watch them suffer week to week. I understand why people do kind of enjoy the intense emotions this show is producing, but it not for me. That's not. I do not get the pleasure from that. So, yeah.
Yeah, very fair.
The first time I watched Madoka, I watched it all in one night. I did have to stop for a few minutes after episode 10 just to kind of collect myself. But yeah. I would have struggled to watch that shit week to week.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you see, yeah, so CJLE just posted a screenshot from Birdie Wing. That's a line from Birdie Wing. Golf is killing them all.
Fuck yeah.
Dying because of golf.
This is how anime should be.
See, that's the kind of suffering I don't mind because it's just like, it's completely stupid.
Yeah, they're having a good time. We're all having a good time here. Maybe we'll enjoy some good anime. I've started doing the thing again where I'll watch 2 anime episodes on the treadmill, so I need to, you know, just put some good shit in my veins.
Yeah, I've been getting on the exercise bike. That's how I've been catching up on Skip and Loafer so far, so I'm trying to keep that up.
Fuck yeah.
I should mention as well, because I don't think I talked about it in the podcast, but you remember a while ago I came out as trans on this podcast.
What?
I also, a little while back, I got a diagnosis that I have ADHD and I'm probably autistic as well.
Hey.
I'm on some ADHD meds, and they have done a lot to boost my mood in like the last few weeks or months. Yeah, like that worked out real well. I just started taking a pill and I was suddenly happy for no reason. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is weird. Why do I just feel okay?
Whereas I tried taking ADHD meds and they're like, hell yeah, girl, let's do shit. And I'm like, fuck yeah, now I can finally be productive again. And it's like, hey, you could do so many other things. That's not what you need to be doing right now. Hell yeah, let's go do something else. Let's go get on the treadmill. Let's do literally anything what you need to be doing. Woo!
Yeah, they're not a cure-all. Like, I'll definitely say that, like, I can focus better if I really want to focus on something, but like it doesn't guarantee that I will not still get distracted and procrastinate.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping Cube can find meds soon that will really do it for her.
And also don't give me that incredible feeling of, oh God, which seems to kick in after an hour or so.
Yeah, well, that was the thing for me is my psych tried upping my dose because it was like, well, you know, this small dose I put you on was working real well. Why don't we go the next step up? And I was like, cool. But that dose seemed to just give me like, it brought all my anxiety back. So I was like, let's crack it back a bit. Amphetamines, they do that. They will do that.
Oh fuck. Oh god. Oh god. We're all dying. Oh god.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was that thing. Is like meds do some fucking bizarre shit to you, man. Like, because I was switching. The particularly bad patch I had a little while ago was like I was switching around antidepressants, and I ended up taking this antidepressant that seemed to make my depression much worse.
Yeah.
That I was stuck on for like about 6 months, and that was that was really bad. But now I'm on some better antidepressants, and then I'm taking these things too. Even like as my anxiety came back when we upped these ones, I still haven't felt depressed for a good few months now.
That's so fucking good. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I hope other people can find shit that works as well for them as this has for me, because this has been fucking just like revelatory. Like I say, it just felt strange to feel happy for no reason.
Yeah. If you're in a situation where it feels like maybe you should look into that kind of thing, look into it.
Yeah, absolutely look into it. Like, because I know it sucks. I know there's lots of barriers and costs and everything. Like, I had to book an appointment with my psych, and it took him 6 months to get to me.
Ridiculous.
But it was absolutely worth it. The upfront cost for the session was nearly $1,000, which I got like half back from the government.
Yeah, that was bullshit. I didn't have to pay that much for my diagnosis.
The situation in Australia is a bit nonsense. The government's currently looking into it at the moment, though, in terms of the way that's all set up in Australia.
Just imagine with a magnifying glass over it's like, these numbers, what the fuck?
Well, the main thing is it's this weird situation where it's all set up. It's sort of assumed that ADHD is a thing you have when you're a kid. I didn't get the discount on the medication until I could prove that I had ADHD when I was a kid, which is a really bizarre thing considering I got the diagnosis. As stupid as this whole system was, it's done so much for me. So that's like, if you can try, I highly recommend giving it a crack, even if it seems hopeless and a huge pain in the ass, because it might do a lot for you.
Shut up, you kids. This is important stuff.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's just an update on me. Hopefully you're going to get more anime slushies out of this, because now that I'm in a better headspace, I might be able to like actually edit the episodes on time and shit.
Don't push yourself too much or anything.
No.
I'm really glad that you're in a better place.
Yeah, I'm in a better place. So, you might get to hear us ramble about stupid anime more. That would be nice.
Fuck yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, one of the things that I need to do with my anime watching on the treadmill is jump back on Flip Flappers, because I had been rewatching it, and I just need to finish rewatching it, take some notes,
Yeah.
Flip Flap with Slush.
Yeah.
We need to get the fuck out of here, and y'all need to have a nice anime.
Have a nice anime.